There are dental clinic owners right now, and one of them might be you, who are making more money than they ever used to make, seeing more patients than they used to see. They're working out of offices better than the office that they dreamed of when they first graduated out of dental school. And from the outside, everything looks like it's working, right? It looks great. The schedule is full or usually full. The team is busy. The practice is producing. Patients are coming in. And if another dentist looked at them from the outside, they'd probably say, yeah, that dentist is doing well. But internally, a lot of those dentists feel behind or burnt out. And how do I know this? Because we work with many of them. And this is how we used to be as well. It's almost like a phase every dental clinic owner goes through. And that's a very strange feeling, right? Because you finally get to the thing that you wanted, right? The practice, the patients, the production, the team, all of it. And then you realize the thing you built now controls most of your life and dictates almost all of your decisions, even after work. Your world literally revolves around your clinic, and you don't want that. And if you're a dental clinic owner who's not at that level yet, just yet, and you can't fully relate, maybe your clinic is still growing, right? Maybe you're not collecting what you want to collect yet. Maybe you're still trying to get the schedule to be full, train the team, going through team members back and forth, figuring out your systems and marketing, all of it. Honestly, this video might be even more important for you because the beliefs that you built in the very beginning, your mindset, usually become that cage that you live in later, right? For good or for bad. And if you start off with a great mindset, you might be better off, okay? So continue watching. A lot of owners wait until they're already burnt out, like I said in the beginning. They're already overwhelmed. They're already a few years into ownership before they realize the clinic was built around the wrong foundation from the very beginning. And that's exactly what I want to talk about in this video, because I don't think burnout is the real problem. In fact, I know burnout isn't the problem. It's usually the symptom of the problem. And why do I say this? Because the actual problem is a lot of dental clinic owners are building clinics around beliefs that require the clinic to become stressful by nature. And then when the clinic becomes stressful, they call it ownership as a coping mechanism. And Chris, what do you mean by that? You mean I'm intentionally building a stressful clinic and a stressful life? Yes, I do. Humans love complexity, and complexity brings on stress, okay? It's your internal belief system that is reflecting itself as your clinic. Now, I'm not saying this from theory, right? Or some like voodoo thing that I made up while thinking about this video idea in the shower. I'm not just on the outside looking in. At our clinic, we work about 3.5 days a week. We close multiple weeks throughout the year. We close around the holidays so the team can actually be with their families and enjoy their lives. And I still take quarterly vacations. So that means 4 vacations a year. And I probably work around 140, 160 clinical days a year maximum. And the clinic still collects $400,000 to $600,000 a month in collections, sometimes above that. And I'm not saying this to brag, right? Not at all. Or that every clinic owner needs to copy our exact model. That's not the point of this video. The point is that a lot of rules dentists accept are not laws. They're just made up beliefs, okay? You don't have to work 5 days a week forever and feel guilty for working less. You don't have to be available all the time. You don't have to have the answer to every single question. You don't have to sacrifice your entire life to have a successful clinic. But if some part of you believes that's what ownership requires, then you're going to build a clinic that proves that to you. That's literally it. You can't build something different from what your conscious or subconscious mind believes. It doesn't work like that. And that's the dangerous part that we need to learn to avoid or come out of. Because once the clinic starts proving your belief, especially self-hurting beliefs, you're going to call it your reality. And that becomes your daily reality. So in this video, I want to expose the ownership beliefs that quietly build clinics and then trap their owners at the end of the day. Let me say that again. I want to expose the ownership beliefs, your beliefs that build your clinic and ultimately ends up trapping you. Why? Because once you realize this, you'll want to make changes, whether with our help or alone, okay? Because your clinic is not just a place where dentistry happens. The way your clinic operates is a manifestation of what you believe ownership has to feel like. And I know that sounds a little bit dramatic, but actually think about it. If you believe growth requires suffering, the clinic will grow in a way that creates suffering. If you believe nobody can do things as well as you, the clinic will be built around your constant involvement or only you. If you believe working less means making less, you're going to end up doing just that. And then one day you're going to wake up, maybe even resentful towards the same practice that you worked so hard to build. The clinic didn't become like that randomly though, right? It became like that because you made it like that. Before I continue, we help clinic owners, like I said, with this all the time. It's actually one of the top issues clinic owners that we coach, they bring up. So if this video resonates with you and you need more guidance one-on-one, then hit the link below, okay? So going back, this is how we set up the trap for ourselves that we fall into. The first rule that a lot of dentists operate under is this: if I'm suffering or drained, I must be serious. And this is one of the most dangerous beliefs, by the way, that exists in dentistry because it disguises itself as work ethic. It sounds responsible and ambitious, but for a lot of owners, suffering just becomes part of their identity. They're proud of being the person who stays late, solves everything, and just carries everything on the weight of their back, right, for their clinic. And look, I'm not saying there aren't going to be stressful seasons where you have to work hard, stay late, get shit done, right? Ultimately, you're the owner. Of course, there will be. If you own a business, especially a dental clinic, you are going to have those hard seasons, those late nights, those stressful periods. You're going to have stressful weeks. But there's a massive difference between temporary sacrifice for a vision and permanent suffering because the business was never designed properly. And I think a lot of dentists, they confuse the two, right? They think the constant stress means they care, or they think if the clinic feels heavy or stressful that they must be doing something important, right? Or something right. But sometimes that heaviness or that stress is not proof that it's going well. Sometimes the heaviness is proof that shit is actually not going well. And this matters because if your subconscious definition of ownership is stress, then you're never going to know what the hell calm is. Again, think about that. Think about that sentence again for a moment, because you've definitely had days where things are running smoothly, and instead of enjoying it, part of your brain is going to think something must be wrong here. For example, I'm sure you've had days where you're not doing much physical dentistry, right? Like actual production or drilling on teeth, surgery, or whatever. But you've scheduled a lot of treatment from hygiene or exams or consults, and your collections are amazing for the day. But you feel like something is wrong because you didn't put on your damn loops, right? You'll have a slower day and immediately think the practice is collapsing, or you'll take a vacation and you're going to feel guilty because a part of you believes a real owner should always be available in the trenches, or whatever your true belief is. And that's where a lot of dental owners self-sabotage without realizing. They say they want a calm clinic, but then they don't fully embrace the calmness at all, right? They say that they want the team to lead, but they get uncomfortable when the team makes decisions without them, or they micromanage every decision, and then the team can't do anything without them. And then the dentist complains that their team isn't as independent as they wanted them to be. So they pull the clinic back into dependence on them, back into the version of ownership that feels good to you. Comfort, right? Even if it's bad comfort, like the comfort of binge eating. You know that's horrible for your health and for your body, but you still do it. And this is especially important for newer owners. Okay, so listen up. Because if you're in the early growth stage, you may think, well, I'm just going to grind like crazy for a few years and I'm going to fix the model later. And listen, I get it. In the beginning, you do have a lot of effort or work you need to put in. But the belief, okay, your subconscious that you attach to that effort, the foundation matters a lot. If you tell yourself success requires me to be exhausted, you don't just work hard temporarily. You're going to work hard like that forever until something changes. You create like a mental contract with yourself where exhaustion becomes success. And then later, when the clinic grows, your mind looks for exhaustion as proof that you're still doing enough. And it's become a loop. You legitimately are going to believe that the more tired you are, the better you are doing. And that's why some owners grow and become more free, and other owners grow and become trapped. It's all in here. Growth is not really the issue. It's your operating system and your foundation underneath that growth that is the issue. And the second rule clinic operators or clinic owners operate under is this: if they need me, I matter. And this one's uncomfortable because most owners don't want to admit it, right? They say that they want the clinic to run without them, but they do the complete opposite. I think you're getting the pattern here, right? Doing one thing, but wanting another. Conflict. But stay with me because it gets better. These dentists jump into every problem. They override decisions, they fix things before the team has any time to think, and then they say, nobody can do anything without me. Again, it's like a kid that you do everything for, and then you're surprised that they can't do anything for themselves, right? And they're deadbeats living at home forever. Maybe you know someone like that. Well, of course they can, right? You basically trained the clinic to need you through repetition over and over and over again. Every time you fix a problem without creating a system for it, you guarantee the problem is going to return. Every time you step in because it's faster, you're trading that short-term speed for long-term dependence on you. And that dependence leads to more and more stress and not being able to step back from your clinic. And that's the part that a lot of owners, they don't want to look at, right? Being needed can become addictive because you think you want to do everything, because if everyone needs you, you feel valuable and you feel like the practice could not exist without you. You're core to your success, right? But is it even success? Like deep down, is it success? And this is where you have to be honest with yourself. You can't say that you want freedom while you're constantly reinforcing dependency on you. You can't say that you want leadership while you're making the answer to every decision. It doesn't make sense. And if you do that, you're in conflict. And when your conscious desire and your subconscious identity are in conflict, your behavior is going to follow your subconscious identity. So what happens? You build a business that needs you for everything. And then you call it burnout. So you can see how this snowballs in practice, right? And this is one of the biggest shifts in ownership. Your job is not to be the smartest person in the clinic forever. Your job is to transfer your standards into the people and systems and culture of your clinic. Ultimately, your job is to be the best CEO, right, of your small business that you can be. Because if your standards only exist inside of you, and even inside of you, if they are in conflict, that means your presence becomes a system. And if your presence is a system, you don't own a business yet. You own a job with overhead. You're an associate with overhead. Again, for the newer or growing practice owner, this starts earlier than you think it does. Don't wait until you have a huge team to start thinking this way. If you train your first few team members to depend on you for every single answer, your next few team members are going to inherit that by result. The first version of your clinic is going to become the blueprint. Think of it like a home, right? You really need to build a solid foundation from the very beginning, not coming back later to try to fix the foundation. If your early blueprint or foundation sucks, it's built on dependency and reaction, growth is not going to solve that. Growth is just going to multiply all those bad things. And the third rule is this: more success requires more sacrifice. And this is the belief everywhere in dentistry. A lot of owners believe more production just needs more days. And if that belief is sitting in your mind, you will only recognize that growth opportunities that match that belief. So instead of asking how to make the current days that you're working more productive, you start adding more days. Instead of improving your case acceptance, you chase more new patients. People love touting, oh, I get 100 new patients a month or 200. But then you ask them, what is your conversion rate? Like, what is your dollar conversion per patient? And then they're quiet. And then instead of simplifying the schedule, you pack it with more procedures. And from the outside, it can look like growth, right? But internally, you know the business becomes more and more stressful. And this is why some clinics grow and some still feel terrible to run. The classic DSO example. More patients entering a broken system that creates more chaos. Growth does not fix a weak foundation. So when a practice is just starting to grow, this is the moment you need to be careful, right? Early growth can be exciting because finally things are moving. The schedule is filling up, new patients are coming in, you're making more money. And then you start thinking, okay, now I'm actually getting somewhere with this business. But if that growth is built on that chaos, it's going to continue, I promise you that. Because the numbers improve, so you ignore the operational plan, right? The blueprint, especially in the beginning. And you tell yourself, well, it's stressful, but at least I'm growing, right? And that's how the trap begins. And this is why I think dental owners need to stop worshiping production by itself. Production matters, collections matter, profit matters, obviously. We're running a business, but production without a proper foundation and a business design almost always leads to burnout, especially if you don't follow it. You can have a full schedule and still not have a business that serves you. So the real question is not just, how do I grow? The real question is, what kind of growth am I building, right? Because some growth gives you freedom and some growth just builds that bigger cage, like I said, that traps you. And the fourth and last rule is this: I'm going to earn my freedom later. And this one sounds good, right? Like I'm going to benefit from my investments later, that mindset. It sounds like I'll design my life once the practice is successful. But here's the thing: later just becomes that. The clinic does not wake up one day and hand you freedom because you're a good owner that waited for later. Freedom is not the automatic reward at the end of building a practice. Freedom has to be built into the design of the practice from day one. And this is one of the biggest mistakes. One of them out of the many that owners make. They build the clinic first and then they try to squeeze their lives into whatever space is left over. But running a business expands to every aspect of your life, right? Unless you intentionally create a structure that stops that from happening. So if you're in the early practice ownership stage and you're telling yourself, I'm going to think about that lifestyle part later, you need to understand that the model that you build now is training you and your team and your patients what to expect from you. And this is why vision and foundation matters so much. And I don't mean vision in the cheesy way where you write down, we want to grow production or we want to help people smile, right? That's fine, but that's not deep enough. Vision means understanding the actual model that you're building your practice. What kind of dentistry is the practice centered around? What kind of patient experience are we creating? What kind of leader am I going to be? What kind of life do I want this business to support? You need to spend time on this. If there's one thing that you can do after watching this, it's this. And even if you just use us one-on-one to help you with your vision, you're going to massively benefit from it, okay? So you can see how these 4 rules we hold as beliefs is often the reason we run clinics that lead us to burnout. And this is why I say your clinic is a mirror of you, and your life is a mirror. The clinic reflects what you do. It reflects what you avoid. It reflects everything. And again, this is not about blaming yourself. It's about being intentional with your business and your mindset. Because if the clinic is partially built from what you've allowed, then you can change what you allow, right? And the solution is not to like suddenly disappear from the practice and call it delegation. That's not leadership. The solution is to redesign the clinic from the inside out. You start with the belief, because the belief is what drives the behavior. If you want to work fewer days, you have to stop assuming fewer days means less production and start designing better days, higher value dentistry, better scheduling, better case acceptance, better follow-up, better patient experience, better systems. If you want the team to lead, you have to stop rescuing them from thinking and start teaching them how to think, right? Lead a horse to water type of thing. And this is where simplicity matters. A practice that serves you is not usually a more complicated practice. In fact, it's the complete opposite. It's usually a simpler practice. Clear roles, clear standards, clear everything, clear scheduler, clear patient flow. Most clinics have too many ideas, too many systems, too many services, too many random things going on, too many things added without anything being removed. And then that complexity can look impressive from the outside, like I mentioned in my previous video. And then people say, wow, look at them, look at everything that they're doing. Your goal should be building a practice that requires or does not require constant energy from you to function. That means the schedule has to be designed intentionally. That means the team has to be trained intentionally and continuously. The patient experience has to be great and standardized. And this doesn't happen overnight, right? Even if you decided right now that I'm going to do all of what Chris is saying, it's going to take you months and years. And without help, it's likely going to take years of trial and error. But you need to get started and invest in yourself to make it happen. All right? If you build with intention early, you can create a very different path. You can still work hard. You can still grow. You can still produce. You can still build that something that is impressive. But the practice grows around a foundation that is good. So if you feel burnt out and this video resonated with you, or if you're starting to grow your clinic and you can already feel the practice pulling more of your life into it, don't just say that this is normal. Normal does not mean you're doing well, okay? Normal just means that a lot of people accepted the same thing, right? You have to stop optimizing for a model that you don't actually want. But you're going to work. You're going to have stress. You're going to have problems. I promise you that. No clinic is perfect. Our clinic is not perfect. Nothing is perfect. But at least you're building a solid foundation and working towards what you actually want in life. Make your clinic that vehicle that helps you build the life that you actually wanted when you became an owner in the first place. And if you want our help, like I said, building a simpler, more intentional, more profitable clinic that actually supports the life that you want, click the link below and apply to work with us. But either way, start paying attention to the foundation you're building from. Because if you don't consciously design the clinic around the life that you want, the clinic is slowly going to design your life for you. And you may not like that result.